The first scream doesn't come from any of us. It cracks through the hallway the moment our phones start recording, like something trapped in the walls sensed us and finally found a reason to speak. Eli laughs it off. But I can hear the echo bending, almost shaping itself into a word. The air is colder than outside, sharp enough that each breath feels stolen. We walked in thinking we'd film another stupid challenge, but the silence feels wrong, as if it's waiting its turn. Jade keeps staring behind me even though nothing's there. At least, not yet. Sometimes I wonder, what if your reflection kept recording after you walked away? Would you even know which version of you stayed behind? Ryan pushes forward to prove he's fearless, but his shadow moves like it's a step ahead of him. I keep trying to swallow the feeling that something was already standing here before we arrived, watching us choose where to die. The deeper we walk, the more the air feels like it's holding its breath. Ryan keeps trying to joke, but every sound rebounds through the hallway like the hospital is repeating him on delay. I notice Eli's phone glitching, frames skipping, colors shifting, yet he keeps filming because he wants proof that nothing here is real. Jade once stopped staring at a door we passed. She swears she heard someone whisper her name, but she refuses to repeat what it sounded like. I don't want to admit it out loud, but the shadows don't seem to match our movements anymore. They stretch and pause, like they're analyzing us before catching up. For a moment, I wonder if the building remembers the people who used to walk these halls. What if it never forgot their faces, and now is trying to show them to us? I try to focus on the floor, but I swear I see footprints that aren't ours, still wet, leading forward as if someone knows we're following. We reach a room with a collapsed ceiling, plaster and insulation scattered across the floor like the aftermath of something violent. Eli thinks it's the perfect spot for a dramatic shot, but Jade begs him not to step inside. She keeps whispering that someone is already standing in the darkness even though we see nothing. The air smells like mold and something metallic, like the room is rusting from the inside out. Ryan tries to shine his flashlight across the debris, but the beam bends strangely, warping around a corner instead of illuminating it. My stomach knots when I notice the temperature drop sharply. My breath turns visible, drifting toward the center of the room like it's being pulled. I ask Eli to stop recording, but he shakes his head, insisting that if something is here, catching it on camera might finally explain the faces people keep spotting in our videos. I'm not sure explanation is what we'll find. As we step back into the hallway, all our phones buzz at once. Notifications flood the screens, comments on our earlier posts. Viewers claim they saw someone standing behind Ryan in our latest clip, someone whose face looked almost familiar but wrong in a way none of us can explain. Ryan brushes it off, but I see the panic flicker in his eyes. Eli replays the footage, and for a split second before the static wipes it out, I swear I see a figure smiling where no one was standing. Jade begs us to leave, insisting the hospital isn't showing us ghosts, it's showing us copies. I feel a chill crawl up my spine as the lights overhead flicker in a rhythm that feels intentional, almost like Morse code. What if it's telling us we shouldn't be here? Or worse, what if it's telling whatever else is here to come closer? We decide to move toward the main ward, hoping bigger spaces will make us feel less cornered. But the building seems to shrink around us with every step. The hallway stretches unnaturally long, as though the hospital is pulling us deeper, instead of letting us pass through. Eli's recording again, insisting that people love the suspense, but even he can't hide the shake in his voice. Jade keeps walking in the middle, holding her sweater tight, whispering that something is walking beside us, even though we're all in a straight line. Ryan pushes ahead to prove he's not scared, but he keeps glancing at the reflective tiles on the floor like he expects another version of himself to look back. I feel the tension in the air shift like we've crossed an invisible boundary. The lights above hum, louder, almost eager. If the hospital wanted our attention, it has it. The terrifying part is realizing it might want more. The deeper we go, the more it feels like the hospital is adjusting to us, like the building itself is waking up. The halls smell stronger now. Old metal, damp air. Something faintly sour that catches in my throat. Eli keeps replaying the last clip and insists he saw something brushing past Ryan. But when he shows us, the screen glitches, replacing the shape with frozen static. Jade's breathing quickens as she keeps touching the walls, whispering that they feel warm like a heartbeat hiding behind concrete. Ryan tries to laugh, but his voice cracks and the sound echoes too long, as if the hall is mocking him. I can't shake the feeling that something is walking behind us, matching our pace but stopping exactly when we do. And the worst part is how quiet it is. Too quiet. It's the kind of quiet that comes right before something decides to make itself known. We enter a pediatric wing, and everything inside feels wrong. The faded murals on the walls, once cheerful animals and bright colors, are now warped by mold and peeling paint, giving them twisted smiles that follow us as we walk. Eli films them as if expecting the drawings to blink. Jade refuses to step past the entrance, insisting she hears footsteps too light to belong to any of us. Ryan taps a small rusted tricycle, and the wheel lets out a slow squeak that echoes all the way down the hall, circling back like something responding. I feel an icy draft brush my legs, but nothing moves. For a moment, the air shifts and carries a faint giggle. Soft, distant, too close. I swallow hard and wonder, if the faces people saw weren't adults, then who was standing behind Ryan earlier? We reach the nurse's station again, but something's different. Papers that were scattered earlier now lie neatly stacked, as though someone, or something, tied them. Eli swears he didn't touch anything. Jade backs away and refuses to go near the counter, whispering that she saw a hand slip behind it a moment ago. Ryan tries to prove her wrong by leaning over the edge, but his face drains of color when he sees the dark smear of fingerprints trailing across the surface. I try to tell myself they're old, but the edges are wet, like they were made seconds ago. Then the overhead lights flicker once, twice, and everything goes dark for a heartbeat. In that split second of blackness, I hear breathing. Close, heavy, not belonging to any of us. When the lights return, the papers on the counter are rearranged again, spelling shapes that look disturbingly like faces. We follow a trail of those wet fingerprints into a treatment room. The door creaks open like it's resisting us. Inside, the air feels heavy, thick enough that every breath stings a little. An old examination chair sits in the middle, the leather torn, straps hanging loosely from its sides. Eli steadies his camera, but his hands won't stop shaking. Jade refuses to enter, her voice cracking as she says the room doesn't want us inside. Ryan steps in anyway, trying to show he isn't afraid. But the moment he touches the chair, it lets out a long, low groan like something waking up. I hear a soft clicking sound, like fingers tapping metal, from somewhere behind us. But there's nothing there when I turn. My chest tightens as I feel the air shift again, closing in like the walls are leaning closer. Whatever left those fingerprints, it's still here. As we leave the treatment room, the hallway behind us groans like something heavy is shifting its weight. The air vibrates softly, carrying a low hum that feels almost like a voice trying to form words. Eli turns his camera toward the sound, but the lens distorts, stretching the hallway into impossible shapes. Jade grabs my arm and begs us to stop moving, saying the building is reacting to our footsteps, like it can feel every vibration. Ryan tries to argue, but even he freezes when the lights overhead begin to pulse in a slow, deliberate rhythm, one flash for each of us. And then a fifth. My stomach flips. There are only 4 of us. I turn to look behind, expecting to see something, anything, but the hall is empty. Still, I can't shake the feeling that someone is standing just out of sight, waiting for us to turn our backs. Back in the lobby, Eli insists we check the comments again because whatever people saw in our videos might explain the 5th flash of light. When he opens the app, the notifications explode. Hundreds of messages saying the same thing. Who was the person walking behind Maya? I feel my throat close. Ryan scrolls through the clip, but the footage keeps warping. The figure behind me stretches, shifts, then vanishes entirely when he pauses it. Jade refuses to look, saying she doesn't want to see something that isn't supposed to exist. Eli argues that if we can prove it's just a glitch, we can calm everyone down, but his voice trembles. I replay the moment in my mind, trying to remember if I heard footsteps that weren't ours. But the worst thought hits me like ice. What if the face people keep spotting isn't a stranger, but one of us? Eli argues we need to go back to the hallway where the fifth flash happened, convinced that refilming it will prove the lights were malfunctioning, not reacting to us. None of us want to return, but the thought of leaving without knowing who, or what, was behind us feels worse. The corridor seems longer now, almost breathing with a slow rhythm that pulses through the walls. Jade keeps whispering that the shadows are thicker than before, like they're gathering. Ryan tries his best to sound brave, but his eyes dart to every dark corner. When we reach the spot, I feel a weight in the air, like someone is standing in the middle of the hall even though it looks empty. Eli lifts his phone, hits record, and says if there's something here, he wants it to show itself. The lights flicker once, then twice, then everything stops, waiting. Eli plays the clip back immediately, but the video freezes on the first frame. When it unfreezes, the hallway behind us is full, packed with blurred figures standing shoulder to shoulder, all facing the camera. Ryan curses under his breath and backs away, knocking into a rusted cart. Jade starts crying silently, shaking her head over and over, saying they aren't ghosts. They're reflections trying to step out of the dark. I want to tell her she's wrong, but my own legs are shaking too hard. Eli scrubs through the footage again, but the figures vanish as soon as he pauses, as if they know when they're being watched. A sickening thought hits me. What if they look like us, but in ways we haven't seen yet? What if the faces people spotted weren't strangers, but versions waiting to replace us? The tension snaps when Ryan insists we have to prove the hallway is actually empty, so he marches ahead, shining his light into every corner, but the shadows retreat from his beam like they're alive, sliding along the walls instead of disappearing. Jade refuses to move, whispering that the building is reacting to Ryan's fear, feeding on it. Eli tries calming her, but even his voice keeps breaking. I follow Ryan despite every instinct screaming not to, and the temperature drops so sharply that my breath fogs instantly. The shadows seem to thicken behind him, inching closer with every step he takes. Then the lights flicker again. 4 flashes, then a pause, then a 5th. Jade screams, and for a heartbeat, I see it too. A figure behind Ryan, standing exactly like him, but smiling. Ryan finally turns around, but the figure is gone. He swears he felt someone breathing on his neck, though none of us were close enough. Jade breaks down and begs us to stop filming, saying the hospital isn't haunted. It's copying us piece by piece. Eli tries to argue, but even he can't lift his phone anymore. I pull them all together, telling them we need to leave now. But before we move, the lights flicker again. This time not in flashes, but in a slow, steady pulse, like a heartbeat. The walls groan as though the whole building is shifting its weight. Then from far down the corridor, we hear footsteps. Not running, not creeping, just calmly walking toward us, as if whoever, or whatever, is approaching already knows we don't have anywhere else to go. The footsteps stop, but the silence that replaces them feels heavier than sound. I can't shake the feeling that we've crossed into a part of the hospital that wasn't meant for anyone living. Eli lifts his phone again, but the screen is so dark it's like the camera refuses to show what's in front of us. Jade whispers that she feels something brushing past her, like cold fingers skimming her arms. Ryan takes a step back toward us, but his shadow stays where it is for a full second before catching up. That's when Eli's phone glitches, and for a heartbeat, the screen shows Ryan's face, except it isn't him. The eyes are wrong, too wide, too aware. I swallow hard as I realize the building isn't just copying us. It's learning us, and maybe once it finishes, it won't need us anymore. We try to move, but the floor feels uneven, like something beneath it is shifting. Jade keeps begging us to stop walking, saying the hospital is listening for movement. The air grows warmer as we approach the old radiology wing, and a faint mechanical humming vibrates through the walls. Eli suggests that maybe some part of the building still has power. But the hum doesn't sound like machinery. It sounds like breathing. Slow, steady, patient. Ryan reaches the doorway first and freezes. The lead-lined walls inside reflect our shapes, but the reflections aren't matching us. Mine is staring at me, even though I haven't moved. Jade's shadow stays still while she trembles. Eli's reflection lifts its phone slower than he does. It feels like a room full of imposters waiting for us to make one wrong step. The hum grows louder the moment we step into the room, vibrating through our ribs. Eli tries to film the reflections, but his camera shows something different. 4 figures standing where we are, but none of them looking like us. Their faces are blurred, stretched, waiting to settle into shape. Jade collapses to her knees, covering her ears and crying that the room is choosing who to copy next. Ryan swears he sees his own reflection smiling even though he isn't. I drag Jade to her feet and tell everyone we're leaving. But when we turn around, the doorway looks narrower than before, like the building is closing in. The reflections tilt their heads at the same time, as if mocking us. For the first time, I wonder if the hospital wants us to leave, or if it wants to trap us until we become the next faces people spot online. The humming stops all at once, replaced by a sharp ringing that feels like it's inside our skulls. We run out of the radiology room, but the hallway has changed again. It curves slightly now, like the building is bending around us. Eli tries to lead us back toward the entrance, but every corner we turn looks unfamiliar. Jade keeps repeating that the hospital is rearranging itself to keep us here. Ryan starts shouting at the walls, demanding whoever is copying them to show itself. The lights overhead flicker in response, strobing fast enough to distort the world into broken frames. During one flash, I see a second Eli standing at the far end of the hall. During the next, he's gone. The worst part is that Eli swears he saw another version of me staring back during the same moment. We finally reach the main ward, but the beds inside are arranged differently than before, like someone, or something, has been preparing the room for us. Eli hesitates at the doorway as if sensing a trap. Jade refuses to step inside, whispering that whatever is copying us is getting closer, and that it doesn't need mirrors anymore. Ryan forces himself forward, saying we need to look for another exit. But the moment he steps between the beds, the lights dim to a soft red glow. My breath catches as I see movement at the far end. 4 figures slowly stepping into view. Their outlines match ours perfectly, but their faces are blank, waiting to decide who they want to become. They stop walking at the exact moment we do, mirroring us without hesitation. And then, as the lights pulse once, their faces begin to change. The moment those copies step forward, the air thickens like the room is filling with invisible weight. Eli tries to back away, but the door slams behind us as if the hospital itself is sealing us in. Ryan raises his flashlight, but the beam bends around the figures instead of hitting them. Jade grabs my arm so hard it hurts, whispering that the copies are deciding which one of us they belong to. I don't want to believe that, but their movements match ours more perfectly with each passing second. Eli lifts his phone and records, even though the screen stretches their shapes into twisted silhouettes. One of the figures tilts its head at me, like it's testing how my face fits onto its blank one. I feel a cold pressure against my chest, like someone's breath pushing through me. The hospital isn't just watching us anymore. It's choosing. Ryan takes one step forward, shouting at the figures to stay back, but they all move at the exact same time, mimicking him with unnatural precision. The sound of metal scraping echoes through the room as the bed frames vibrate against the floor, like something beneath them is shifting. Eli begs him not to move again, terrified they'll keep copying until they aren't copies anymore. Jade hides her face in her hands, whispering that the hospital is trying to overwrite us. I try to pull Ryan back, but he's frozen, staring at the figure shaped like him. Its face pulses, features brushing against the surface, like something inside is pressing forward. Then it opens its mouth, not to speak, but to inhale like it's tasting him. I feel the air around us pull inward, as if the room is preparing to swallow our identities whole. Eli suddenly pulls us toward the far door, insisting it leads to a storage wing we haven't checked. The figures don't follow immediately, but their heads turn toward us in perfect sync, like a single mind observing 4 bodies at once. We sprint between the rusted beds, their frames screeching louder with every step. Jade nearly falls, but Maya grabs her before she hits the floor. Ryan keeps glancing back, swearing the copies are starting to gain features. Eyes, mouths, shapes forming like clay pulled into human form. Eli forces the storage door open, and a wave of cold air washes over us, so strong it feels like stepping into another world. As we shut the door behind us, I hear the figures finally start moving. Their footsteps don't sound like ours. They sound heavier, determined, hungry. The storage wing is colder than any place we've been. Frost clings to the walls, and our breaths turn white instantly. Shelves filled with old paperwork and broken medical tools stretch into darkness. Eli tries to use his phone as a light, but the camera flickers to an image of 4 faces. Ours. But frozen, staring directly outward like portraits of the dead. Jade screams and throws her sweater over the screen. Ryan moves along the shelves, searching for another exit, but they all lead deeper into the building. The cold grows sharper, biting into our skin. I hear footsteps again, but they aren't coming from behind the door. They're coming from inside the storage wing, from somewhere between the shelves. I whisper for everyone to stay still. The footsteps stop right beside us, but nothing is there. A low rumble shakes the shelves, sending papers spilling from every direction. Ryan shouts that the copies are trying to break through the door, but Jade insists the sound isn't coming from behind us. It's coming from beneath us. Eli shines his phone at the floor, and for a second the tiles become transparent on screen, revealing shifting shapes just below the surface, like faces pressing upward, searching for someone to replace. The air thickens, vibrating with a slow thudding rhythm. I realize with a sickening twist that it's a heartbeat, not ours, but the building's. The hospital isn't haunted, it's alive. And it wants more than our shadows. When the tiles begin to crack under our feet, Ryan screams for us to run. But as we turn, the aisle ahead darkens. Something is standing there, silent, familiar, and wait. The silhouette blocks the aisle completely, its shape too close to human to ignore. Eli tries to shine his phone on it, but the light bends away as if the figure absorbs it. Jade whimpers, burying her face against my shoulder, while Ryan grips his flashlight so tight his knuckles turn white. The shape begins to move, slowly, deliberately, mirroring our breathing even though it hasn't taken a single breath. I step back, but it copies the motion a second later, like it's learning me piece by piece. Eli whispers that the hospital has finally finished forming them, that these copies aren't just reflections anymore, they're replacements. The floor cracks again beneath us, the heartbeat growing faster, as if urging the figure forward. I try to think of a way around it, but there's no space, no exit. And when the figure tilts its head, I suddenly realize it isn't just any copy. Is mine. Ryan tries to pull me back, but the moment he touches my arm, the copy steps forward too, like it's reacting to contact rather than movement. For a second, its face ripples, shadows forming outlines where eyes and a mouth should be, like it's sculpting me into itself. Jade begs me not to move, saying the copy only grows clearer when I do. Eli tries throwing a piece of broken tile toward it, but the object dissolves into dust before hitting the ground, as if the air around the figure rejects anything solid. The heartbeat beneath us quickens, and I feel a vibration rise through my legs, sensing with my own pulse. It feels like the building is trying to merge us together. I step back again, terrified, and the copy steps forward faster this time, almost eager. Then, in a whisper that doesn't feel spoken, I hear a question in my mind. Which one of you belongs here? The lights flicker, and for an instant, the aisle fills with more silhouettes. 4, then 8, then dozens, layered over each other like after images that haven't caught up. Eli yells that we need to move now before they fully form. Ryan kicks over a shelf, sending metal crates clattering across the floor, buying us just enough time to sprint past the Maya copy as it hesitates, studying the mess like it's confused by chaos. Jade clutches my hand while we run, whispering that she feels something inside her chest pulling toward the doubles, like her own heartbeat isn't hers anymore. Eli leads us down a left turn, but the corridor bends in a direction that shouldn't exist. Doors appear on both sides, each one slightly open, as if inviting us inside. The hallway seems to breathe with every step, exhaling cold drafts that sound almost like whispers, welcoming us home. We don't stop running until the corridor opens into the old hydrotherapy wing. The air here is warm, too warm, and the walls drip with condensation that smells faintly sweet. Large, empty therapy tubs sit half-filled with dark, stagnant water. Jade won't step inside, mumbling that the hospital brought us here on purpose. Ryan checks the walls for exits, but every door we try is sealed, as if welded shut. Eli approaches the largest tub with his camera raised, but the water starts moving before he gets close, rippling in slow circles like something beneath the surface is breathing. I look into the water and nearly collapse. 4 reflections stare back, but they aren't ours. They're the copies fully formed, standing behind us in the water even though the room behind us is empty. Their faces are perfect, ours, and they're smiling. The water's surface distorts as the reflected copies move closer, their smiles widening as if proud of the faces they've grown. Jade screams for us to run, but when I turn, the door behind us slams shut with a force that makes the walls tremble. The tubs begin to drain on their own, the water spiraling downward, like the room is preparing for something. Eli grabs my wrist, whispering that the reflections aren't trapped in the water. They're waiting for us to look away so they can take our place. Ryan pounds on the sealed door, shouting in panic. I step back from the tub, but my reflection doesn't. It leans forward instead, mimicking the movement a second too late, its expression stretching into something human but wrong. Then, the reflection raises its hand. Mine stays down, and in that instant I realize it's no longer copying, it's leading. The water in the tubs drains completely, leaving only the reflections behind, still standing, still watching, even though nothing should be reflecting anymore. Jade keeps whispering that they don't need mirrors now, that they've already learned enough to step out on their own. Eli tries to pull us toward the back wall, certain there must be an emergency exit hidden somewhere. But every tile he touches pulses with warmth, like the building is alive beneath our hands. Ryan freezes when his reflection moves before he does, its fingers tapping against the glassy surface that shouldn't exist. I feel the room tightening, air folding inward like the space around us is shrinking. Then the reflections begin stepping forward, not through the tubs but out of the air itself, peeling away from places where no image should be. Their faces look exactly like ours, perfect down to the smallest detail, except for the eyes. Theirs are too focused, too red. The doubles move with slow confidence, like they know exactly how this ends. Eli shouts at them to stay back, but his voice only echoes, splitting into multiple layers that sound too much like the copies. Jade begins shaking so hard she can barely stand, whispering that the hospital is done choosing. It wants all of us now. Ryan tries to swing his flashlight at his double, but the copy's hand shoots up faster, gripping the beam of light as though it's solid. The flashlight shatters, plunging the room into deeper shadows. I feel my heartbeat sensing with the pulse of the walls again, a rhythm that no longer feels like mine. When my double steps closer, it tilts its head and smiles exactly the way I never would. Something inside me curls with dread as I realize the copies aren't here to replace us. They're here to erase the originals. Eli forces us toward a maintenance hallway he spotted earlier, and for the first time, the hospital doesn't stop us. It feels like it's guiding us instead, herding us exactly where it wants us to go. The doubles follow at a walking pace, never rushing, never stumbling, their eyes locked on us as if savoring every step. The hallway twists downward, walls narrowing until the four of us are pressed shoulder to shoulder. Jade mutters that she can hear her double breathing inside her own head, copying her thoughts before she has them. Ryan whispers that he can feel his double's footsteps vibrating through the floor. My double doesn't rush. It just watches me with a calm certainty, like it knows something I don't. And when the hallway opens into a large empty chamber, Eli's voice cracks as he realizes why the hospital let us through. The room is shaped like a stage, and it's waiting for its final scene. Me, in de which can war, in Orisel and Funkspayment on a better down. The doubles enter the chamber behind us, spreading out to mirror our positions exactly. Eli raises his phone for the last time, starting the live stream even as his hands shake. He whispers that if anyone is watching, they'll know what happened here. That we didn't imagine this. Jade pleads for him to stop, saying showing the doubles to the outside world will only help them spread. Ryan tries to run toward the far wall, but his double steps in front of him instantly, blocking him with perfect timing. Mine does the same when I move, predicting me before I even finish deciding. The hospital hums again, low and steady, like applause beginning. Eli points the camera at the doubles and demands they say what they want. For the first time, they move without copying us. All four tilt their heads in the same direction, toward Eli. The doubles step forward together, and Eli's scream is swallowed by the chamber's walls. His phone drops to the floor, still streaming as his double reaches him first. I grab Jade and Ryan and pull them back, but the room vibrates, sealing every exit with a deep groan. Eli's double places a hand on his shoulder, and for a moment, everything goes silent. So silent I can hear my own pulse stutter. Then the light flickers and Eli is gone. Only his double remains, turning toward us with the phone still streaming in its hand. Jade collapses, sobbing, while Ryan yells Eli's name until his voice breaks, but the copy doesn't answer. It just raises the phone showing the live stream. On the screen, Eli is standing beside us, smiling. Except he isn't here. And the version in the stream lifts its hand, waving at us before the feed cuts to black.